talking about total war. There's nobody else helping us. All the continent have fallen down, and it was us against this monster. The Spitfire was built as an interceptor fighter.
These aeroplanes represent to the British people an unwillingness to be bullied.
The country couldn't possibly have too many of these fighters.
Hi, I'm Corinna from the Fan Carpet. We're here at the premiere of Spitfire in Mayfair, a brand new documentary film to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the RAF. So let's just go see what it's all about. I actually wanted to thank you for teaching me the alphabet, because it's because of Countdown and you. Yeah, I watched as a baby, and I learned to read.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So for you, is it really important to be hosting such a prestigious historical premiere?
Yeah, this is wonderful. So I always wanted to join the Royal Air Force as a young girl, as a pilot, but I was born so long ago, it's in the 70s, and the Royal Air Force didn't take girls as pilots back then. They do now. And so I've had a lot to do with a lot of the veterans charities over decades. And then 4 years ago, I was asked by the Chief of Air Staff to become the first female ambassador as honorary group captain in the Royal Air Force. So tomorrow I'll be wearing my uniform and going to Westminster Abbey and Horse Guards. So I'm ambassador for the Air Cadets, and both my children were cadets and so on. So yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. I do about 40 days a year, something like that. Yeah.
Why was it important for you to make this film right now?
It's been a lifetime's passion with me, aeroplanes. My dad was in the RAF doing his national service, so I've always loved them. But my work as a film editor has taken me down various avenues, but I've ended up doing feature documentaries. And the story of the few and the pilots who flew the Spitfire and similar aircraft has always intrigued me, and I've always wanted to tell their story. So when my buddy Ant came to me and said, "Do you think anyone would be interested in making a film about the Spitfire?" Of course I said yes straight away, and that's where we started.
And what do you think makes the Spitfire such a magnificent plane to talk about still after all these years?
Well, it has this totally iconic status. There were other aeroplanes out there. There was the Hurricane, obviously it's great, kind of stablemate, Mustang, Tempest, loads of different aeroplanes. But the Spitfire has got longevity because something about it captured the public's imagination. And I don't just think it was its good looks.
How did you feel when they asked you to take part in this documentary?
Excited and honoured, really, because I never thought anything else. It was just a job to do, and we all had to shoot each other down. I've met lots of Luftwaffe pilots, and they said, "Oh yes, I was in Messerschmitt," and I said, "Well, I was in Spitfire," and we became firm friends. But in combat, you just fly instinctively. You don't think about flying the aircraft flies you, and it's a good job because sometimes you've got to get into a very tight turn to miss a Messerschmitt going down on you. So, but it saved my life quite a few times.
So some would say that you are a rock and roll veteran yourself. So was it important for you to come here tonight and support the RAF veterans?
Well, I'm supporting a couple of things. The RAF, absolutely, but also Mark Stewart, who's a friend of mine who made the film. And I'm not, I'm here as a supporter, but I'm here actually because I love flying, I love Spitfires, and for me it's not so much a duty as a pleasure.
And so you fly yourself?
I do, yeah.
What's it like to be up in the air flying a really amazing plane?
Well, I love it, but I fly a helicopter rather than a fixed wing.
And do you ever imagine what it would be like to fly in a magnificent plane like the Spitfire?
Yeah, well, I know quite a bit about it because my wife flies as well, and she's flown the Spitfire, the two-seat Spitfire.
And do you think this documentary is important for the current generation and generations to come to watch, to see just quite what our forefathers went through?
I think it's really important because we all take, the Dutch have a phrase about this, is never take freedom for granted. And I think it's very easy for us to take freedom for granted and forget the sacrifices that these pilots, who when they were 18, 19, 20 years old, were willing to lay down their lives for the defence of their country. Now, it's not a very fashionable idea these days, but I think that that the young can perhaps look at it and say, do you know what? They were an amazing generation. And there's also a tendency just to look at older people and say, oh, it's just an old person. Well, that old person may have done something in their lives, and that's what we wanted to explore with the film.
Well, I completely agree. I feel there's a lot to be learned from that generation, especially when us millennials maybe do concern ourselves with little things, trivial things.
Oh yeah, I think particularly from a military point of view, the heritage is very important, and this is a great tool for spreading that message.
I think it's good for the youngsters to come in on it because they didn't realise what it was all about, and it was really tough, especially the siege of Malta, because we were outnumbered, anything up to 20 Messerschmitts to 1, and the tactics there was to go and shoot a bomber down if you can, and then avoid the Messerschmitt coming down after you.
Wow, that's fascinating.
I think it's so important because what you've got to understand is when I wrote my book, I interviewed about 45 Spitfire veterans. Only 3 survive today. So that's in the last 2 years. This is the people that you've seen today are a dying generation. There's no easy way to say that.
We can learn a lot from that generation, can't we?
But they are, if we don't record their stories now, if we don't listen to what they've said, but these people, the old people, the Allan Scott, Spitfire veteran, a Spitfire ace, who fought for the whole of the war, he's just walked in. He's very slow. And if you're in front of him, if you're behind him in this queue at Tesco's, you're going to get annoyed at him. You are, aren't you? Because we all will. And yet, this is a man who saw his friends die around him. He was one of the ones who survived. And he is the salvation of our nation at a time during the Second World War. And if we don't remember his story now, if we don't honour him now, when the hell are we going to do it?
Well, there probably is a lesson in it for all of us, that perhaps when we are standing in the queue at Tesco's and we see an elderly person, we should really just stop and talk to them and find out their story.
Say hello, don't be... I get frustrated. Everybody does. But, just think, wow, that 96-year-old man, and we've seen 96-year-old women. And Mary Ella's 101, 102 years old.
It's incredible. I'm absolutely awe this evening. I honestly really am.
It's amazing. I'm in awe, and I've flown in battle myself. So to watch them walk in, these people that did something so amazing for our country, and they're here tonight, and they are a diminishing generation.
Well, I was absolutely fascinated to see the role that women played as well, and I think it's very important now for current generations to see.
Yes, well, we had started, they really started using women because they needed to release all the men plotters. There were a lot of male plotters when we first went there, and as we arrived, so they went off so they could fight, be near where the fighting was, where the battle. But as far as we were concerned, we were way in the background, of course, but we were essential just the same for them to know exactly where our aircraft were.
Well, do you know what? It's by sheer happenstance that happened within the film. We were very, very keen to include the woman's story, and we have accumulated quite a lot of, there's a lot of female elements in the film that some people feel very surprising. From the daughter of one of the designers remembering the first flight, to a WAF plotter who was there on the Battle of Britain Day, to the 2 ferry pilots who flew Spitfires from the factories to the airfields. We tell their stories. We're very, very pleased and proud to be able to include that in the film.
What is it about the Spitfire that is so fascinating?
I think that the Spitfire is an icon. It is an icon of aviation, but it's an icon for a nation from a period in our history where we needed icons, where we needed heroes. So we needed heroes in men and women, and we needed heroes in machines. We needed things to look at. And can you imagine in the late 1930s and the early 1940s, when thousands of German bombers were flying over the skies of London, that you could look at something like this and say, in this rests our salvation. And that's what's important about that aircraft.
It's more manoeuvrable. The new wing, Mitchell's wing, that sort of elliptical wing, made all the difference. It gave you a stalling very low indeed, and it had no vices, put it that way. It's a really lovely aircraft, and we fell in love with it, of course.
And I was just absolutely fascinated to see your story in the documentary. So what was your role within the RAF?
I was a WAF aged 20 when I joined up in 1940, and of course the Battle of Britain was just about to be starting, so I was joined up just at the time that it was really busy for the aircraft to get our aircraft up in the air to meet the Germans. Well, now, without the Dowding system, which is what I belong to, we would never have been able to have known where the German aircraft were. It's because of radar, first of all, and then the observer corps and so on. They gave us plots to know where the German aircraft were, and so we could send up our aircraft to attack the German aircraft where they were. So that's virtually what the Dowding system was. But I was a plotter, and so the plotters were, we were all very young, younger than you, I think, probably, because I was 19, 20, so I was about the same age as you.
And for me, it's fascinating to meet people like yourself who've lived through the wars. And what advice would you give to younger generations?
Don't ever go to war.
That's a good advice.
Don't go to war, no.
Yeah, no, I feel no, I don't think anything of it, really. I love sort of talking to the press and explaining and telling them things that they did not know about the aircraft. It was a wonderful aircraft. Had no vices. I called it a grown-up tiger moth. It's very good. And the youngsters should know about it last war, because you never know, but the end of the war and all those youngsters were called up. So as we were, I shot my first youngsters 8 down when I was 19 over Clacton on the sea, and then from then onwards in Malta, the siege of Malta was absolutely hectic. The boxes of 100 bombers coming out, following each other all the time, and Malta became the most bombed place on earth.
Well, there were quite a lot of us doing it, It isn't as if I was the only person doing it. We were all in watches, and so you would have about 20 in a watch at a time. So, you were not doing anything as a one-person pioneer, But we were all working as a team. But we had teams, you see, of plotters.
So my book is called Spitfire, A Very British Love Story. And it's still in the Sunday Times bestseller list.
Wow, well, we're getting a copy.
No, but it's just recording. It's recording the way that the documentary tonight is recording them visually. I've recorded them on paper with their words, and I just think that's so important.
And what have you got coming up musically? Are you still playing?
I'm still playing. I've put together a small band called Nick Mason's Saucerful of Secrets, and we start a European tour in about 6 weeks' time.
Very exciting. Wow, what an incredible evening. I've been absolutely fascinated to speak to the veterans and everybody here this evening. I've been Corinna from the Fan Carpet, and remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
This aeroplane stands for so much. Grace and gallantry. She is a symbol of freedom.
Thank you for watching The Fan Carpet. If you like this video, be sure to click that thumbs up button at the bottom of your screen. And also be sure to subscribe to the Fan Carpet YouTube channels. They're absolutely free and so much fun too. Be sure to check out the official website, thefancarpet.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date with reviews, competitions, the latest news, and so much more.